Keep these late round sleepers in mind for 2024 fantasy football. Today, we are breaking down 5 players who are going deep in fantasy drafts, but it could end up helping you win some matchups. But before we dig in, head over to 4for4.com and use promo code YouTube to get yourself 25% off any subscription plan.
Cup in motion. Stafford looking one way, then the other. Throws caught. Demarcus Robinson having the night of nights. Touchdown.
As an 8-year veteran playing behind Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, it's understandable that Demarcus Robinson is a second or third or fourth thought for fantasy drafters. But Robinson became much more involved with the offense down the stretch, averaging 31.8 routes per game between weeks 12 and 17, as Tutu Atwell, Ben Skoranek, and the rest of the depth chart were essentially phased out. He wasn't just out there running on air either. During that 6-game stretch, he scored double-digit PPR points on 5 occasions, finding the end zone in 4 of them. The red zone role, 6 targets from inside the opponent's 10-yard line, tied for third amongst all players in that span, could continue throughout at least the beginning portion of the year, with tight end Tyler Higbee sidelined while he deals with his torn ACL suffered in January. On top of his out-of-nowhere role progression from last season, there's also the chance that Kupp misses time after dealing with injuries in 13 games over the last 2 seasons. In addition, Puka Nacua is currently dealing with a knee issue that has him considered week to week. The only new competition the team added through the offseason was tight end Colby Parkinson and 6th-round rookie Jordan Whittington. Early reports claim that Whittington will have a difficult time to legitimately crack the starting lineup during the regular season, as he's more likely to be a special teamer in year 1. Though the team did give Parkinson a sizable 3-year, $22 million contract back in March, the tight end has career highs of 32 targets and 25 receptions. The Seattle Seahawks allotted him only 4 targets from within the opponent's 10-yard line over the last 2 seasons combined, so it would be quite the shock if he were to usurp Demarcus Robinson near the goal line. According to 4for4's multi-site ADP tool, Robinson is coming off of draft boards in the 20th round, going completely undrafted on at least 2 separate platforms.
End around Robinson. He's got great speed and elusiveness. Robinson all the way down to the goal line, and Wan'Dale Robinson in for the touchdown.
It's anybody's guess how the target share will break down behind Malik Neighbors, but Robinson should be on the field a lot for a team that's expected to be trailing often. The former Kentucky Wildcat had a moderate ascension in the offense during year 2, which was especially encouraging after continued knee issues kept him out of the majority of his rookie season. His route participation, yards per route run, and targets per route run all ranked second on the team, while a 16.9% target share actually led all Giants receivers. Due to the team's miserable quarterback play and mostly unwatchable offense, his raw stats weren't especially eye-popping, grinding out a 60-525-1 stat line on 76 targets, which led to a wide receiver 59 finish in half PPR points per game. Things should look a little more ironed out for his down-to-down usage in 2024, even with Malik Neighbors on the squad to be the unquestioned focal point of the offense. According to beat writer Dan Dugan, both Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins' stock is down as we head into the new year. He listed Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Jalen Hyatt as the likely top 3 among the depth chart, and quipped that, quote, third-year slot receiver Wan'Dale Robinson promises to be fed targets, end quote. Robinson is particularly interesting in full PPR leagues, as he should absorb a ton of work in the short game with an exodus of talent this past offseason. Saquon Barkley and Darren Waller combined to account for 107 targets with 9 or fewer air yards last season. That equated to 27.1% of the team's attempts in that range. There is, of course, no guarantee that Robinson simply absorbs all 107 of those targets, but it's not outlandish to think he could end the season pushing up against or beyond a triple-digit target outcome. This makes him an interesting dart throw all the way back in the 17th round.
Hand off to Chandler, spins, and he is in.
Heading into the 2023 season, Alexander Mattison was the dead zone or zero RB option everyone seemed to be clamoring for. This eventually pushed him all the way up into the 5th round, where drafters were forced to bear witness to an RB 44 fantasy performance in which he failed to top 7 half PPR points in any of his final 7 appearances. Much of that had to do with Ty Chandler, who started eating into Mattison's workload in the second half of the year, eventually all but usurping the RB1 role while his teammate dealt with an ankle issue. Chandler, and a loaded free agent running back class, pushed Madison out to Las Vegas, and now Chandler is in a similar situation, though Aaron Jones is clearly more talented than his last backfield mate. As the RB19 at the end of the 5th round, that average draft position is actually almost a full round past where Madison was going last year. Jones will turn 30 years old in December and is coming off new career lows in yards per carry and breakaway run rate while missing 6 games due to hamstring and MCL injuries. Reports from Vikings camp have been adamant that Chandler's usage will continue to increase in 2024, featuring both backs in a 1-2 punch that will keep the aging running back as healthy as possible. This will give Chandler a moderate week-to-week floor with obvious upside as the team's RB1 if Jones happens to miss any time this year. In the final 5 games of the 2023 season, with Kirk Cousins sidelined, Chandler averaged 12 half PPR points per game. This should give us at least some assurance that he can string together good performances, even if the Sam Darnold-JJ McCarthy tandem proves to be a poor one.
Draw, Dowdle has a big C, makes a man miss, and another. Dowdle lunging forward, gonna put him down at the 1.
Throughout the beginning portions of the offseason, the fantasy football world was all but certain that the Cowboys would be selecting their future stud running back sometime during the NFL draft. Jonathan Brooks sure seemed to be a perfect fit. Or maybe they'd settle for Trey Benson a little later on. At the very least, they'd take a big body day 3 option like Audric Estime or Braylon Allen. But the clock kept winding on, and Dallas left the draft empty-handed with an eventual RB depth chart that featured old friend Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, Royce Freeman, Deuce Vaughn. While Zeke was the presumed RB1, considering the team grabbed him back in free agency, things have started to sound a little different coming out of Cowboys training camp. Anyone who's been keeping an eye on Elliott over the last couple of years has noticed his burst is all but gone, and beat reporter Saeed Youssef has confirmed as much this summer. Youssef has mentioned that he's nothing like his former self while maintaining that Dowdle has been the face of the running back committee and could very well be the lead guy during the regular season. This is certainly not the story ADP tells us, as Dowdle is going at least 3 full rounds after his teammate, depending on which format you are using to draft on. Rico Dowdle has age on his side, far less career wear and tear, and is coming at a huge discount in an ambiguous backfield.
Motion with the shotgun to Jackson on 1st and 10. Oh, and he's got Bateman after the races. Chased by Holland. Chased on the play by Howard. And there he goes. Touchdown! Wow! 75 yards!
Whether because of his injury history or lack of production since being selected in the 1st round of the 2021 NFL Draft, fantasy managers have understandably avoided Rashod Bateman up to this point in the offseason. Over 34 career games, he has earned 4.5 targets, 2.7 receptions, and 34.3 yards per contest, finding the end zone an abysmal 4 times. This includes last year's 2023 season when the team finished 12th in passing touchdowns and 4th in total points scored. But if we look at what the Ravens have done with the former 27th overall selection this offseason, he may factor into their plans more than we're giving him credit for. Bateman was not eligible to receive a 5th-year option because he had only been credited with 2 accrued seasons, meaning he would have to become a restricted free agent following the season. In response, the team gave him a new 2-year extension to keep him on the team through 2026. Additionally, the team allowed Odell Beckham to walk in free agency and ignored the wide receiver room until the 4th round of the NFL Draft when they selected Devontae Walker. Walker profiles as a wide receiver who needs serious work in his route running, which should limit his route tree and in turn his usage as a rookie. This makes the depth chart look like Zay Flowers, Bateman, and Nelson Aguilar. But even seeing that 3 wide receiver set might reduce in 2024 with a healthy Mark Andrews and the emergence of Isaiah likely pointing toward more 12 personnel groupings. This would get only Flowers and presumably Bateman on the field with any frequency. When asked about the possibility of having both tight ends on the field more often than in 2024, offensive coordinator Todd Monken said, quote, "You're obviously trying to get your best playmakers on the field, and there are 2 of them. Those 2 guys are unique weapons, so we have to do a great job of being creative, getting them on the field, and finding a way to utilize them. They're built a little bit different, but we love both of them. Having them both together would be great." The number 2 receiver hasn't historically put up phenomenal fantasy numbers in the Lamar Jackson era, but Bateman's speed in this offense is why he is so sought after during his first 2 years in the league. His 3rd year was, admittedly, also a disappointment, but a few weeks in our lineups is all we really need with such a low draft cost.